This is gonna be some Bioshock tips. I know I'm playing Warframe because I can't broadcast on Bioshock, but here's some Bioshock tips. So, this works, I'm talking about, this works for Bioshock Infinite, and this can work for Bioshock, just Bioshock 1 and 2, but I'm gonna be mostly doing it on Infinite. So, first thing is when you play Bioshock Infinite, get comfortable with your weapons. And most of you are like, oh, just pick weapons I like. No, weapons that you can fight with. I teach myself to fight with many range of weapons. But if you can only fight with one weapon, still pick up another weapon and use it just in case. You don't have to like your weapons to fight with them. But for some people, you have to fight with weapons you're good with. Because if you can't fight with a pistol, then it's going to be a bit humpy ride when you're trying to fight. But first rule is when you're okay, so second thing is have leftovers. Most people are like, oh, what do you mean by that? So when most people who speedrun and they loot a bunch of stuff, loot, but don't make sure that you take what you need. Like, most people are like, oh, I need all this. No, you don't. Most people, what you need is stuff to help you survive. You don't need like a whole supply load of freaking salts. Leave some salt, like you don't even have to fill, like most people are like, oh, I have to fill my salt completely and I'll be good. No, you can leave your salt, like I leave my salt halfway, but because you don't know when you're gonna need it. But the more you have left over, like most areas you have to try to find and leave stuff over. Like, what I mean by that is, so if you're after a middle big fight and your enemies and you're about to do another big fight and you don't have any salt or weapons or ammo, Elizabeth might be able to help you with some of that, but she might not be able to give you so much that you can fight with to supply you up ready. So if you leave leftovers, you're probably gonna have a better chance of surviving because you have stuff that can help you in the other big fight. This is why I'm not saying you have to leave your salt and leave halfway. I'm not saying you have to like go with no salt. Save your salt halfway. And back to this, when I was saying, use weapons you're comfortable with. If you use weapons you're comfortable with, then it's gonna make it easier. Like for me, I use two things. I use multiple like little, I think they're called like little multiple power things, multiple salts. But I mostly stick with the one that puts up the enemy and makes it easier for me to shoot, because I shoot really bad. But if I'm able to shoot and get some kill, if I'm able to help myself by lowering how much salt I use, like that, I'll get to a little tip with that later. But if you can lower how much salt you use, like the machines like vinegar and like weapons, get those. Like most people are like, oh, dollar bills are useful too, right? Yes, when you first start out. When you get to like a certain like level, when you're able like to find out loot, pick up stuff like really easily, then you can do that. But never, like some of the trophies you might not, you don't even have, you can't use the dollar bill, and you're like, why can't we use it? Because it's one some of their achievements. For most people who speedrun and try to completion it, you can't use the dollar bill, which most people are like, then how am I supposed to get some of my stuff? Well, how most people do, they loot around, and this is also what I was going back to. Leave leftovers. The more you have left over, the less time, and the more time you have, the more money, like the more money you can save. Like the more money, if you're busy leaving leftovers, then it's saving you money and saving you time to get out of your way, look for a dollar bill machine, and buying stuff that you need. Like, if you're one of those people who, like when I first played Bioshock Infinite, I was addicted to the machine because I did not know where anything was and where and how to get it. But the more you get used to it, and like, I'm not saying like this is for noob and pros. But if you're like new to the game, try to complete the game without, like, you can go in easy, medium, but I recommend when you first play the game, don't just go straight, like, don't go like, oh, I'm out of stuff, I'm gonna go straight to the thing, because this goes back. Leave leftovers. Like, the more leftovers you have, the more it can save your time and save your freaking tush. Like, like, I remember I left myself like 6 trash cans that had like a bunch of salt in it, and I had no salt after a battle. That saved me like I'm pretty sure like about 20 or more bucks to buy salts. And also my next thing is, don't loot corpses until you're all dead. You can loot corpses, but you might get shot in the process. But you can loot corpses if you have certain like equipped items. So one of the things I have equipped is, I think it's called, like, it's when I eat something, I'm temporarily invincible. So which means they can shoot me and I won't take any damage for a certain amount of time. And which means if you have those perks, don't be one of those guys like, do I want this? Just what you do is you collect, just go collect everything. Doesn't matter, like, if you have one of those types of perks, if you're in the middle of a fight, don't sit down and get cozy. Grab, shoot. Like, as soon as, since I have the perk I have, the little armor I have on my guy, Booker, so what I do is every time I get a kill, I loot, and then the best thing about what I do is, how I fight, is I have like a little caliber. So what I do is I have my gun, and so after each kill, I reload. But if there's like a big group of them, I get 2 kill to kill them as fast as I can. But if there's a big guy, I spam my gun like heck, so I can kill that guy before one of those crow guys or those flame guys. But you guys, the new players who see this video, and be like, what are those guys? They're gonna be a pain when you first start out, but if you can master and like know how to fight against them, they're not gonna be that hard. Like, they only get hard depending on how much you, yeah. It's only hard depending on how you fight it and who you're fighting it. Like, when you first start out, you don't, with Elizabeth will give you stuff to help you out, but don't depend on just Elizabeth. You have to depend on, as I said this repeatedly, leftovers. Like, most people are like, oh, like these pros who speedrun stuff are like, oh, salts are gonna make me go slower and waste my time. No, the more salt you have, the more easier and faster you can use to destroy your enemies. Like, when I use salt, how I do it is I use my salt and I shrink how many enemies. Like, just imagine if you have like a group of enemies and the thing I use, like, if you use murderous crows, and then they're being stunned, and you run to cover, and then you can switch to like the thing that puts them up in the air and get all kills. That's what I type of do. But I don't do that like 10 seconds, takes 10 seconds to do that. What I do is I hurry as much as like, what I'm saying is, don't think when you're fighting. Like, think of a plan right before you hit the combat zone, because if you're thinking of a plan in the combat zone, your enemy's already getting closer to you. So how are you supposed to fight if you have no thinking space or room? So what you do is think of this is for noobs and pros. I'm pretty sure most players know this, but think of a plan before you even get to think of a plan right before you get to the combat zone. Like, if most people who's trying to complete the game, try to make it easier for yourself by thinking, like, most people new to the game, pretty much think of all the enemies that you can possibly fight. Like, most of the time, especially if you're gonna fight something called a handyman, what you should do is focus on the biggest and meanest. Like, most people are like, oh, if I'm fighting a big guy, I need to focus on all the little guys. No, if you can take out the big, like, okay, so if you're like, oh, there's a bunch of guys meleeing me. So I almost died one time because I wasn't paying attention. But I didn't die. I didn't die because thank God I got the guy before he got me. So I was busy focusing on the little guys, and the crow guy nearly killed me. So what I did was I got the crow guy right before he got me. What you should do is definitely go for the big guys first. You want to take big pieces, not little pieces. Because if you go after big guys, that's easier for you. The bigger the guy, like the harder the big guy is, the harder it is for you. Like, if you take out, like, okay, so if you're fighting like a bit, I know most people who's gonna be like, oh, that's hard. I have to fight a big guy and a strong and weak guys at the same time. That's hard. But use cover. Like, it's not one of those games like Division where you can just go to a cover. Use every single wall area. Like, most of the time, use everything can be used as a cover. You don't know it because you're like, I don't know how to use this as like a cover, but it can be used as cover. Like, you can use that to buy yourself some time, and if you're lucky, when you get Elizabeth able to make some tears for you, get tears that, most of the time, I recommend get tears that are mostly health. Salts are, okay, so, most people, like, and this goes to one of my other points. When you have these two things, like you have shields, health, and salts. Most people will be like, oh, if I have a lot of salt, then I don't have to worry about all this stuff. Yeah, but if you're taking too much, if you're worried about your salt, you're taking too much damage. And if you're worrying about your health, you're gonna be worrying about too much health items. Worry about your shields first. Like, most people are like, oh, why do we care about the shields? If you can absorb more bullets, like, if you can absorb some, like, I do this with my game. So if you can absorb more bullets, then especially if there's, I think this is in this one, but if there's a certain item which, if the more you get shot, they give you that ammo. What they shoot you with, that gives you that ammo. So if you have a bunch of shield, you could just be draining enemies of ammo for like days. Like, they don't even, not gonna be able to, like, to do any damage to you because you're too busy draining their ammo. But one of my last tips is I might give, if I get 2 viewers for this, I might do a lore video if that helps anyone. But one of my last tips is your 2 best friends is the vinegar and the ammo, the armory guy. The dollar bills, useless if you're new. I recommend you stay away from those. But I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys like this. It's short and sweet, just like it is.